am Lauryn Alejo. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the publication editor for Unpublished, which means I'm in charge of all the magazine design and arranging it, and I'm also in charge of the website and posting everybody's articles. And my zodiac sign, my rising is Gemini. I feel like I need to give the whole three because sometimes my sun doesn't do me justice. But I'm a Gemini rising, an Aquarius sun, and a Libra moon.
Your birthday was recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on Friday.
Oh, wow. Well, then happy late birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, feeling very old, feeling very 22. Yeah.
It's your Taylor Swift year?
Yeah.
That's
I'm
fun.
surprised only one person sent me her song. So, like, wow. I just forgot about the most important part.
This was really interesting to me, and I loved it a lot because I know you said that you feel like you kind of manifested your position at Unpublished.
Like, since I was 16, way back when, but since I was 16, like, in high school, I always told myself I was going to get into the medical field because I felt like that was ideal. My parents would be happy with it, and, like, I was good at doing school, so I knew I would survive. I'd be fine. But I was in yearbook, and that was where I was first introduced to like InDesign, so spread design and all that stuff, and I loved it. And like everyone could tell I really took to it, and like it was my first year of yearbook. Everyone was like, "Yeah, it's like you're really good at this. This is something." They were just very surprised because I'd never done anything really extremely artistic. So like once I got that bug, I kind of started to like you know when you go to bed and you kind of like have your little fantasy before you fall asleep. Instead of it like being about a boy, it would be about like me working for a magazine startup and like in San Francisco or something fun like that, and just like living on my own post college, just working for designing for a magazine. But it was just like it was just something fun I would think about, and then I finally got the courage my senior year of high school to like I was like, okay, like I'm not gonna do anything in the medical field. There's no way in hell that like I would be happy doing that, and I think that's a big thing for me. Just watching the people around me, kind of like I see them doing financially stable jobs, but not necessarily not necessarily feeling fulfilled. So that was a big thing for me, and I didn't nowhere think that this would lead me to working for a magazine or even just doing like editorial design. I just thought I was gonna like develop more of a graphic design eye, and be a well-rounded designer rather than just fully focusing on that. Once I went to college for design, and kind of forgot about that little fantasy for a little bit because I wanted to really work in the music industry for design. But last year, I really wanted to push myself in my New Year's resolutions, and I think a lot of people, resolutions are kind of cliche and no one really follows them. But I do them every year still, just kind of like at the end of the year, look at it, even if I don't really like keep tabs on it throughout the year, kind of just see if like I've naturally progressed. And that was like the last one in my 2020 New Year's resolutions. It said start making booklets and purchasing magazines. And I think I have other journal entries from when I was in high school, me talking about it too. But I didn't really think anything of it. I kind of just wrote it there. And because I knew myself, I was like, I'm probably going to end up being too busy to even do any like personal creative endeavors. But I'm going to write it down. This is something like I'm really good at and I really enjoy. And then in the middle of quarantine, Becca reached out to me that I could design the logo. But then by the end of the conversation, she basically was like, actually, we need someone to design for the magazine. I need like for the publication editor position. I was like, oh yeah, I'll totally take that. That's like something I love. So yeah, and I think that's like the craziest thing I've manifested because I really genuinely just like wrote it down and kind of just forgot about it. I didn't really care too much about it. It was a very powerful thing. Crazy.
That is really powerful. Like you, it's not that I always wanted to, it's that I was always told I was good at science and math, so I figured that I should pursue a medical career. But then I realized that I wouldn't be fulfilled doing that. So when I finally realized that, I wrote down like a bunch of things that I wanted to do in the future. And one of those was that I wanted to get my work published in a magazine. So
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's great.
Look at us, our dreams are coming true.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's weird because like everybody, I feel like the pandemic has been so terrible to so many people. and Unpublished has been like the biggest blessing I've gotten in this whole thing. So that's really crazy because I really don't think it would have happened if we didn't end up where we are. Like, I know the exec team and I always joke like the pandemic has been our bitch because like, a lot of people are losing jobs, and even though nobody gets paid doing this quite yet, that's something we're manifesting, that everyone Republished will get paid very soon, hopefully. But like this is just something that we got really lucky that it happened right when it did. Like it kind of, I really feel like it fell into my lap.
I know, that's amazing when that happens. Sometimes just coincidences like that, it's so crazy how just everything falls into place like that.
Yeah, yeah, and it was crazy because the day that Becca reached out to me, um, I'm a transfer student, so I was at a community college and I was applying to schools, and that was around the time I was getting accepted to places. And I got accepted to all schools except my top school. And I was like, oh, it totally wrecked me. And I was like, I'm so sad about it. But literally the day after is when Becca reached out to me. So, like, I feel like if I ended up at that school, I would have had, not that my hands aren't full now, but I think a part of me feels like I wouldn't have said yes. So it's kind of crazy how that worked out.
That is really crazy. I guess everything happened, that just kind of reinforces that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, seriously.
So how did you realize that you wouldn't feel fulfilled doing like a job that maybe, not saying that an artistic creative job isn't as stable, but like you mentioned before, your friends, like some of them are in more stable paying jobs that just they don't feel as fulfilled. How did you realize that that wasn't the path that you wanted to take?
Yeah. I think it was my senior year of high school. I was the editor or one of the editors in chiefs of my yearbook, and I hate like stemming it always back to yearbook, but it really is like that's the reason why I'm deciding still. So I was one of the editors in chiefs, and I didn't care how many hours I put into that yearbook. Like I was just cared about it so much, and I think around the time that we were applying to schools, I applied to schools that had both graphic design programs and PT programs, and like I didn't care if they were in high regard. I just, as long as the school had both of those programs, that I was like totally okay with applying there. And then I was like, okay, when I get there, I'll decide. And I think one of the big reasons why I didn't decide to pursue design immediately was because I felt like a lot of pressure from my parents to do something that's more real, I guess realistic. I would say if you can do anything, you can do anything. But like I guess societally what's more realistic. And I don't want to like call out my dad, but I just know that he's a photographer also.
Oh.
So yeah, so he's really good at it, and he just started picking it up, in the past maybe like 6 years. And we're always like, oh, you should do that. Like that's something that you should spend more time on. You can definitely get paid for it, but he just has a very normal corporate and desk job. Um, so I think just seeing that, like, he has such a creative side, and that's definitely where I get my creative side from, and he's not utilizing it in his daily life. And I was just like, I don't want to end up like that. And I had this like extreme fear of just like I don't know, like maybe I'm like 45 and I'm just like sitting at a job that like I'm just doing just to do. Like I didn't want to be that person. And I feel like at my high school too, a lot of people, it felt like everyone was pursuing something that they loved and that they were obsessed with, and I didn't feel that way about anything medical. I went to go visit Washington State University, which was the school I actually originally went to. So I went there for a year. So that's how I know Joni. We went to school together for a year. And while I was there was like a PT conference, and I was like, I don't want to go to that. So I went by myself to like the whatever desk and was like, hi, can I change what conference I go to, and like change my name tag, change everything to like their graphic design program. And they were like, okay. My mom was like, what the heck are you doing? She was so mad. And when we got to that conference, it wasn't very impressive, but it was, it was much more interesting and much something I cared about. And I just remember my mom pulling me to the side and being like, is this really what you want to do? And I was like, dad just like, then you better prove it to us. And I was like, okay, this is definitely what I want to do now. I need to prove you guys wrong. I feel like I'm very rebellious against my parents sometimes, so I think that's like what sparked the fire for sure, for me.
I know it's hard sometimes because you know that your parents want the best for you, but sometimes they put being financially stable as a priority over really doing what you love. And I feel like our generation has switched that up a little bit and we found ways to become financially stable while doing what we love.
Yeah, I think social media has definitely helped that too. And I think our generation is also just very anti-capitalist. So it's like it also goes kind of hand in hand with that. Like you don't want to be working a 9 to 5. That's just you're just slaving away. When you could be, it's so apparent that you can be passionate about something and make money off of it. So yeah, I agree. And I don't know, my parents they obviously had the right intentions, being concerned with what I ended up doing, but honestly, me moving home helped them a lot. Helped them really realize that like why there was a reason why I wanted to do graphic design, because I genuinely didn't express like any artistic interest in high school. It was always just school because I was in all like AP classes and stuff, and it was never pushed to do art classes. All I had was yearbooks, and so when I moved back home after that first year of college, they like saw that I was like, they were like, oh, like she's actually really good at what she wants to do. So it kind of makes sense now, and they're much way more supportive now, which is great. So yeah, like when I was in high school, it was always about like, oh, they were pushing, you go to a school and make sure you have rigor, and like that was a big word. Make sure you have rigor. So like you have to, hit all the points. You have to like in all the AP classes, you have to have the high GPA. And how do you get that? By taking very STEM-based classes. Not necessarily like creative classes, including English. And I feel like that's very creative place to be. Um, So, but now I from what I've heard, because I read this in high school, like they're really pushing like do what you want to do, and I think that's great that they're kind of like I guess more particular to where I went to school, but hopefully a lot of other schools are seeing it this way now that like high school is really a place to explore your interests, and it doesn't have to be about setting yourself up for the rest of your life, because if I could tell my high school self, like, you don't have to worry about these stupid classes. That'll give you an extra point on your GPA. Like, they really don't mean much. Like, just explore and just be funky and weird and just do like the little weird things you want to do, and stop trying to like worry about setting yourself up, because I feel like I try to set myself up so much for like that type of life, the medical lifestyle. And now like I don't feel like it's wasted, because I think it taught me a lot of good skills, and like I think that's why I'm such a hard worker. But like I'm in a completely different field now, so it really didn't matter. Yeah.
Are you someone who feeds off of having a plan, or do you like kind of the
Oh
uncertainty
yeah.
of life?
Yeah. I I have a 10-year plan, so I do definitely feed off having a plan. Do I know when the 10-year plan? I know when the 10-year plan starts. It starts when I graduate college, whenever that is. I don't care when I graduate college, as long as I do it. But I have a plan, and part of it is also living in Europe, like you, which is kind of because of astrology, actually. I always astrocartography.
Mm-hmm.
You put in your chart, and it kind of tells you the specific places where you kind of thrive. And one of my places is Amsterdam, and there's a lot of really cool design studios out there. I do definitely thrive off plans, and I think sometimes a little too much. And that's kind of like put me in a no. I guess that's kind of like messed with me a little bit in college, because I was always taught like you have to get it out in 4 years, but I'm here and I'm probably not going to get out for another 2 years. And I'm totally okay with it, because I've kind of realized like you can't control everything. As much as I want to have a plan for everything, you can't. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like trying to find a balance between being someone that's definitely a planner versus, just vibing and just going through life.
So, you know how every like celebrity Wikipedia page has an early life section? What would your early life section be?
When I was the kid, even, I told myself I was going to do something in design. Like, I said I was going to be a fashion designer when I was in second grade, and then it morphed into interior design. I literally designed an entire house, like, picked out furniture, picked out paint, and I did the whole thing. I was so obsessed with HTV. Um, and then I kind of lost that and forgot about that, and now I'm back here, so I think that comes full circle. But also just like outside of the design world, I danced growing up, and that's something I miss a lot actually. So I think it would be a lot about dance and how that would literally like totally took over my life when I was a kid. But I loved it so much, and like I'm still friends with the people that I met there at my old studio. So it would definitely be about me being a dancer and just being this stick skinny kid that was really shy. That's no longer shy at all.
So, what's your biggest dream?
I think my biggest dream would be to honestly for Unpublished to live on forever. I love working for Unpublished. It's like it's the dream I had when I was 16, and if I could have this for the rest of my life, I totally would. I have definitely envisioned Unpublished becoming like having a office in New York and having an office here and having like studio spaces where artists can just work and like me traveling back and forth, but then also potentially like working for a big company like maybe Spotify and designing for them, or like working at a big advertising design agency because I really love advertising design. And like if I could juggle both of those insanely large jobs at once, that's like the ultimate dream for me. And I just think traveling for my work would be great. Um, I know like people don't really like the 9 to 5, but I think working like all day just for design and just all that stuff. I think that's definitely my dream. I don't want to like hold it to a specific like place or yeah, I just don't want to hold it to a specific like this is the job I want and I need to get there. But so I just hope that I'm working in some big company designing whilst I was simultaneously like handling Unpublished. Hopefully with like the entire same team. That would be super fun. But yeah, I cannot see myself not working for Unpublished. So yeah,
That sounds, oh my gosh, amazing. That sounds like the coolest job ever.
yeah, yeah. I just like I envision so much for Unpublished, and I can really see it really going somewhere, especially just because there's been so much that happened in less than a year for us. So yeah, it's crazy.
When do you feel most at peace?
Um, okay, so I live in you're from San Diego, so like beach towns.
Mhm.
I live in a beach town. I like to call it a town, so I guess beach city. I don't know. And on our kind of like there's like street that lines the beach. And a lot of people just like walk there, walk their dogs, and then you can walk down like all the like slopes and stairs down to the actual beach. Um, and I love to just sit there by myself and just listen to music and people watch. I used to journal a lot out there, but now I'm like paranoid that I get weird stares and stuff. But I shouldn't be. Sometimes I'll get like a breakfast burrito from my favorite place and just sit there and just enjoy my time by myself. I think that's like my favorite thing in the world. Just like listening to the ocean, listening to my music, because I don't get a lot of me time. So the every chance I do get to just do that, even if it's for like 15 minutes, I love it. Like on the first day of school, I knew that for this semester, I knew that I was going to be super, super busy, and I was just really anxious and stuff. So I was like, I woke up for some reason. I woke up so early, and I was like, I'm just gonna go to the beach and just watch the sunrise. And like that's like my favorite thing, just to really sit there. And I feel like a lot of people from my area are like so over. Like they're grateful they live here for sure, but it's like like they're so over living here and want to get out and see more. Um, but like I really appreciate it personally. I love where I live, so I think that's like my favorite thing. That's definitely where I'm most at peace.
I
Kind of
was
makes me
born
feel
and
bad.
raised in San Diego, so I've been here my entire life, and I guess I always kind of grew up thinking that like having a beach like 10 minutes away from your house was extremely normal. So when I realized that
Yeah,
it
right?
wasn't, I I really began to appreciate it.
Yeah. I went to Washington, or I said this before, but yeah, I went to Washington State University, which is not near Seattle. It's like it's on the other side of Washington, so it's totally landlocked. It's in a super small town that's like basically it's like a true college town. Like the only people that live there are basically the college students. All the scenery was like the old window desktop with those hills, the green
Mhm.
hills. That's what it looks like. It's pretty, but like there's nothing out there. And I just remember like the first time I flew back home for like Thanksgiving break, and I saw the beach, and I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe how much I missed this, and I could never fathom like taking that for granted as much as I did. So I think I still keep that in mind now. That like I potentially can't have this forever, so I need to really relish in it when I can.
I know, I guess that's gonna be something that I realize when I move away. I'm gonna realize how much I took for granted having like the beach nearby.
Yeah, but the best part is you can always come back, so it's not
Exactly.
like it's gone forever. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your greatest struggle in life.
My greatest struggle is being my biggest critic for sure. I think that it's become, I don't want to say exponentially worse. I don't want to like put myself down like that because that's literally it. That's literally the biggest flaw I have. But I feel like in college I've had a lot of setbacks. Like moving back home, and then I didn't never planned to be at community college for 2 years, but I was there for 2 years, and then I like applied to other schools again, and like I put myself down. It's very easy for me to put myself down and like critique my own work. Um, when I know that I should know that I'm very talented and that there's a lot of people in my corner and that have a lot of faith in me. Um, and I think the reason why I'm such a big critic on myself and I expect I've, I'm always like things aren't working out for me and like the world is kind of against me kind of thing. But like sometimes just realize it's like not your time and like there's a reason why you're learning the lessons you're learning, but sometimes for me it's really hard to grasp that and I'm kind of just like, oh, like I suck, like the world's just against me and like I'm so much more inclined to critique myself than to like um to hype myself up. I get really shy when I'm like when someone's like, oh my god, you're so good at this. I'm like, okay, like let's not talk about that. But yeah, that's how I am about a lot of things. I'm very much um, a critiquer of my own self, and I'm also really, really bad at not biting off more than I can chew. I always am overworking myself because I feel like I have to, and I before I used to love it, and I still love it, but it's definitely like tearing my mental health down and like my physical health. Um, and I know I can't run myself like that. I can't run myself ragged for the rest of my life. And I feel like that goes hand in hand with me critiquing myself because I feel like I need to work hard in order for me to feel validated. That's when I feel the most like I feel the best about myself. So like if I, it's like this balance. But yeah, I feel like those are definitely my biggest struggles. Still working on them, but it's okay.
And when you get stuck in those mindsets, it's so difficult to get out of them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like literally these past 2 days. So or what day is it? Wednesday. So this just Monday through today, I guess. Um, like I said, I'm submitting my portfolio at my school because I'm trying to get into like a higher program that I'm in right now, and I was like freaking out because I was like, I'm just looking at obviously I'm putting work into my portfolio that I've done already, so I've seen these projects a billion times, so I can pick them apart as like to no end. So I'm like putting them together, and I'm like, none of this looks good. Like I'm just like, this all sucks. I've seen all this. This is like not gonna get me in. I kept saying that to myself, and then I had my review with my professor right before this. He was like, "You're fine. Like, yeah." He's like, "I don't want to say yes or no. Like, you're gonna get it, but I'm very, very optimistic for you." And like, sometimes I just forget that like I'm just my biggest critic, and like I need to also stop comparing myself to other people because you know everyone has their own strengths, and like sometimes I forget my own strengths. So then when I see someone else's, I'm so much more inclined to like see that and be like, oh my god, they're so good, and then like compare it to like what I'm bad at. So yeah, I feel like that's exactly what the mindset I was just stuck in.
If you could give one piece of advice, what would you say?
To anybody or like to a specific person?
To anybody and everybody, just like in general, what do you think is the most valuable piece of advice you could give?
Oh god, it sounds so stupid, but like this too shall pass. Um, I think that's some advice that I would give myself. So I would like to give it to other people that like, yeah, like we were just talking about, like you get stuck in these mindsets sometimes, and like it's really not the end of the world. Nothing is the end of the world. Like you can bounce back from anything. So don't be so concerned with what's happening in the moment. What you should be concerned with is like how you pull yourself out of it. And it's okay to relish in those feelings, but it's what's most important is that you don't get stuck there, and that you know that that's not that those moments that suck don't define you. So that you just know that things will pass eventually. And I know that's such a cliche thing to say, but like I think that's something that I need to remind myself a lot. So I hope that a lot of people. So I figure a lot of people feel the same way as me.
Definitely. And I feel like when you're younger, it's so much harder to detach yourself from the fact that right now isn't forever because we haven't lived that long.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you. Like, if I could go back to my high school self and just like shake her and be like, "This literally doesn't matter. Like, just like you're totally fine." Like, I just can't. I just like remember all the times that like I just felt really, down. I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I was definitely down. I just like I wish I could just tell her and be like, "Dude, like you're gonna be fine. Like, there's nothing to worry about." Like I'm definitely not even close to the person I was in high school. So it's like you're gonna change and change and change. There's everything's gonna be okay.
You seem like someone who would give great like movie and music recommendations. So do you have a favorite movie?
um, just one. Can I?
Go ahead and list as many as you want.
Okay. Well, okay. First, I'm gonna say Baby Driver, and I'm gonna preface it that I understand that there's a lot of controversial people in that movie. However, I love just the plot line and how the director choreographed all the fight scenes, and the soundtrack is freaking amazing. And yeah, just the storyline in general is great. So I highly recommend that movie, and to detach the artist from the art. Insult. Anyways, I love that movie. I am also a very big fan. Oh God, these sound so cliche, but like Midsummer. I love Midsummer and Lady Bird. Lady Bird. I think every time I watched that movie, I felt a different emotion. The first time I watched, first time I watched it was when it first came out, and that's when I was first learning about Timothy Chalamet. I was angry. I was very angry when I finished watching it because I was just like, her mom, she was terrible and like all this stuff. And then the second time I watched it, I laughed a lot because like I got the jokes more, and I had this greater attachment to Saoirse, Timothy, and Greta, the director.
Mm-hmm.
I like watched a ton of interviews with them. So I just pictured their actual personalities and how they were treating how they acted in the movie. And then the third time I cried, and I don't know if it's because I was in a certain mental state, but I don't think it was actually. I just like I really understood like the emotion, or I don't know, just I don't want to spoil anything for anybody that watches this, but like there's just like a part of me that was like, yeah, like I get why this is an emotional movie too. So yeah, every time I watch it, I always pick up on something smaller, and I know it's like some people think it's kind of a monotonous movie because it's like another coming of age film, but I think the great thing about a lot of films is like if you really dive in and like learn about all the little nitpicky things that the director intended to do, because like as much as you want to pick on them yourself, you also should enjoy the movie. So I think Lady Bird is definitely one of those movies that people critique a lot, but like if you just like enjoy it and then separate that and like learn more about the movie afterwards, like the people that are in it, it's definitely one of those. It's like this like little Easter eggs in that are really fun, especially because Greta is from Sacramento, so that's great. God, sorry, I went on a tangent. I'll do that one. But another great one from Greta and what's her husband's name? Bachman. They have Frances Ha, which is
Yes.
Greta. Yeah. And I was watching an interview, and it makes a lot of sense. How like technically, like Frances Ha is like the aftermath of Lady Bird. If you think about it, their characters are very similar. These just like really awkward people that like. I have a quote from that movie on my planner right now. It says, I'm not messy, I'm just busy." It's exactly how I feel. Because my room, you can't see it, but my room is a mess, trust me. But it's really like I love that. Like, yeah, I'm just busy. Like, and there's no other reason why my room is messy. But I feel like their characters are really similar, and it's kind of funny how Frances Ha came out before Lady Bird, but and then another Greta. I really love her. I really love Little Women. Her rendition of it, classic, I guess. But I personally, I went through this. I think because I don't even know. It's really well done. Because you mix like this timepiece with an art house director. But what was I going to say about it? But I think there's just like a lot of little things in it that Greta did again that are like little Easter eggs. Like for example, the first scene when, or one of the first scenes when Saoirse's like sprinting through New York, like that's just like in Frances Ha when Frances is sprinting in New York. And I also sobbed the first time I watched it. Like literally 75% of the movie I cried. I don't know why. I know the plot line of Little Women, but I think it was because I understood because I watched a couple of movies before. But like the cinematography to it and all the little and like everything that went into it, I was just like, oh my god, this is so beautiful. I cried. But other than like movies, like regular art house movies, I love Grease. Grease is probably my all-time favorite movie slash what's it called? Musical. I'm low key in musicals. I think that's because I hate saying
Don't worry, I am too. Don't even worry. I love musicals.
Oh, really? Good. Okay, great. I'm glad. I won't be judged. Grease is definitely a top, and I think the music in it's great. It's super fun. What other musicals are you into?
Some of my favorite movies of all time are just movie musicals. Like, for the longest time, Singing in the Rain was my favorite movie.
Oh my god, I love Singing in the Rain. Yes, it's so good. Oh, it's great.
And I love La La Land and, like, The Sound of Music. And I watched Hair recently. It was interesting. I'm not sure it's one of my favorites, but it was definitely interesting.
Wait, what's that one about?
It's based on like the 60s and 70s hippie movement against the Vietnam War that was happening. And so for most of the movie there isn't like a solid plot, but then at the end it like really hits you and it's like, wow. I won't spoil it, but like the ending is really good.
Yeah, it's always that third act.
Mm-hmm.
It always gets you. I feel like that's how I felt about I don't want to say Beautiful Boy because that entire movie is insane, but I don't know. There's a lot of movies that I'm like I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I feel like I'm not really watching much. And then third act hits, and I'm like, potentially in tears. I'm like, okay, never mind. This is a good movie. Yeah.
And you know what? I love Lady Bird and Frances Ha both so much, and I feel like the biggest criticism that they get is that there's no like solid plot to them, or that they're really monotonous. And I have to disagree with that because I feel like the way they've been designed is to reflect life in its realist point, and there isn't a plot to life, and that's what I like about those movies.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I definitely the first time I saw Lady Bird, I was like, that wasn't much. There wasn't much going on. And but then I went back to it and I was like, oh my god, I love this movie. Like this is
How about music? I see you have like a bunch of music posters back there. What are some of your favorite artists and albums?
yeah. Favorite artist all time for sure, Frank Ocean. I remember listening to him on like Tumblr when I was in middle school. And then of course Tyler the Creator. I actually got that poster the night Flower Boy came out. My friends and I, he was having like pop-ups. And we were already in LA, so we were like, let's go find them. And we found one, and they were like, oh, we don't have any more merch. Sorry, we're so sad. And they're like, just kidding. They like took a bunch out of a freaking car. They're like, here you go. But yeah, definitely that album. Very like defining of the end of my high school career, I think. I love Lauryn Hill, and I feel like I have to, but I genuinely do love her because I was named after her. So I love her a lot. And I'm a big Dominic Fike fan. I was in his 0.05% for my Spotify Wrapped. He's great. I think his versatility is really interesting, and his like he's like obviously being genreless is very popular right now, but I feel like he does it really well, and he's been doing it for a decent amount of time now. So he's really cool. Obviously SZA. I really, really love SZA, and I am honestly a huge Ariana Grande fan, and I hate admitting that sometimes, but I really love her a lot, and I've been an Arianator since yours truly.
Me too. Oh my god. Yep, like, yours truly.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, yay, I'm glad.
I heard her perform like Tattooed Heart on, I think it was the AMAs, and I was like, wow, and then I just haven't stopped listening to her.
Yeah, she's so talented. Just listen to the classics like Frank Ocean, Tyler, SZA. Anybody that you see at Camp Wagner basically is someone that I listen to probably. Yeah.
I feel like our generation has become so criticizing of people's music taste. Like you can't like anything that's popular because it's basic, but then if you only like underground music, then you're like, I don't know. Just listen to music you like and let people listen to music they like.
Yeah, I agree. Like people should just listen. I feel like that's how I felt. It sounds so awful, but it's because I'm an Aquarius. I'm gonna blame my sign for a second, but I'm definitely a type of person. Like I'm one of those people that's like, oh, someone's starting to get popular. I kind of like I'm less interested. Like Billie Eilish, I listened to her in like when Don't Smile at Me came out, and then when she really, really blew up, I kind of pushed away and was like, I'm less interested now. But I now like I'm trying to break that part of me that's like less like that doesn't want to like artists because they're blowing up. So I do love her still. So I do listen to her music, but yeah, it's so annoying because people are so judgmental. It's like they think everyone, of course, is going to be biased to their own music taste. So they think their music taste is so much more superior to anybody else's, but it's like everybody is entitled to like what they want. And I think as long as the music you listen to is generally what you like, then nothing really matters. Like, yeah.
And then Spotify's like your friends are listening. I for a little while I was self-conscious about that because I was like, oh shoot, I can't listen to this song right now. My friends are gonna see that I'm listening to it. But I'm over that now. So if they see that I'm listening to Cherry Wine by Hozier for like 5 hours, they know that I'm going through a mental breakdown, and that's okay.
Yeah, if they see me listening to Space Song from Beach House, then they don't need to worry about me. Like, I'm fine. Exactly, yeah.
What do you think is one thing that the world really needs to hear right now?
It doesn't matter what someone believes in, as long as what they believe in is harming anyone, then it shouldn't matter. I think that like encompasses a lot of things, like politically and spiritually. I think there's a lot of issues with how religion marries into our political sphere, or just like kind of eases it inches its way into our political sphere, and it doesn't it shouldn't really be there, in my opinion. So I think a lot of people need to remember that if what someone believes in isn't really harming you or affecting you or isn't isn't harmful to anyone, then it shouldn't matter. And but if it is harming somebody, then you need to really rethink what you're really believing in. And that even goes for the Black Lives Matter movement. There's so many people that are so against it, but why? What is it doing to you that's really harmful to you? And especially because the people that are so offended by it probably have so much privilege. And it's you're already living your privileged life. Why does it really matter to you? Why can't we just live and support and love people? I think that's just a big thing. And I think that's also that can go to the smallest scale, hating on people for being basic. Is what they like, is it really harming you? No. If they just like it, let them like it. Let them, if they want to wear their chunky feelers, let them wear their chunky feelers. If it doesn't sit right with you, then don't wear them yourself. But if someone likes it, then let them like it. Yeah. So I think that's applicable in a lot of areas. Just if it's not harming you, then if it's not harming you, if it's not harming anyone, then it's nothing to stress about.